welcome to this week's One Image My Edit. So this week I'm going to be showing you how to add these kind of floral effects to an image and how you can manipulate the light and the colours to get this kind of sort of really moody fine art look to your portraits. So this was the original and this is what I've been playing around with. So we're going to do something along the same lines as this, okay? Alright, so the first thing I want to do is address the colour. I want to make this a little bit darker and a little bit more moody. So I'm going to come up to my layers panel, and the first thing I'm going to do is come down to here where it is a new fill or adjustment layer, and I'm going to go to Colour Lookup, also known as LUTs. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select a moonlight one, which is down here. It's a nice kind of moody look to it. And then what we can do, we click in the middle, we can actually select lightness to decrease. So if we do that, you can see lightness to increase. You can see what that does. It makes it a little bit brighter, a little bit darker. But it works quite well, especially with this moonlight effect, and it gives us this real lovely moody vibe to the shot. So once we've done that, we automatically have a layer mask there, as you can see in white. So what we're going to do is just bring a little bit of detail back out into the face. Okay, so go to your brush tool, which is here. Make sure the brush is set, the hardness is set to 0. Bring the opacity down to around 25%. And then make sure the colour's on black, because that's the opposite to white, and that will reveal the face a little bit. So I'm just going to click there just a little bit, and I'm going to go in closer and just bring out the eyes a little bit more, okay, because they're obviously really important to what we're doing. Now we are going to have a little bit of colour difference there, as you can see, so I'm going to go back a couple of steps just so it's not as severe. So it's around there. In fact, I'm going to bring the opacity down a little bit lower. There we go. That's a little bit better there. We're just bringing out the colours instead of the actual colourless skin tones there. So now we've done that, what I'm going to do is come down to the bottom, add a new fill or adjustment layer, and this time we are going to add a photo filter, which is, where's it hid? It's there. And these are all basically different filters that you'd usually use in front of your camera to get different lighting effects or different moods to your shot. So you can warm things up, you can cool things down. What I'm going to select is the underwater one, because I really like this. It's got a lovely sort of aqua to it. I'm going to push that up, not too much. I reckon around there. And you can see that, you know, we've just them two adjustments. We've made this image a lot more moody. So it's getting there. It's looking a little bit more how I want it to look. So again, we've still got the layer mask. We're still on the brush tool. We're on black. So let's just make this brush a little bit bigger. Just using the brackets keys, or you can come up to here and change it there with the size. And I'm just going to go over a face again, just to reveal a little bit more of a face and maybe some of the hair down here. Okay, so if we look at that, if we just look at that as you know, we started from there and we've just added these filters to it. That's what's given us this lovely kind of moody effect, and you can see that's a kind of effect that I went down on the previous edit. So now what I want to do is I want to add these flowers. So you can get these off the internet. These are kind of Renaissance kind of paintings, I suppose. They're quite small files, but it doesn't really matter. If you can get a bigger file, then all the better, but it's not the end of the world. So I usually use paintings rather than pictures, just because I want that kind of canvas look to it. So all you need to do is go to your move tool at the top here. So I'm just going to make Photoshop bigger. This one here, click, hold on your mouse, drag up to your picture. Don't let go, bring it into the middle, and then let go. Press Command T, that will transform the image, and then we can just expand it. So let's just expand the flowers, and let's come to the layers, go to the opacity, and just drop that opacity down so we can get an idea of the position of where we want these flowers. So I think somewhere around there is quite nice actually. Could make it a little bit bigger, but you can obviously play around with the different sizes. What you can do as well is right click and go to warp. So what this will do, this will warp the image and it will make the flowers look like they're going around the back of the head. So just click and drag that in there, and then don't forget the front, and I think this would be slightly more pushed in than the others. Maybe bring this out a little bit more. That's it, but you can play around until you get it perfect, okay? So once you're happy with that, press enter, and that will kind of sort everything else for us. So it will do everything. If we push the opacity up, you can see that's where we are here. So double click on the layer and then come down to here where it says Underline Layer, and if we slide that up, you can see that it starts to disappear. Can you see? So I'm going to push it to around here and then hold the Option key down and click, and what this does, this splits this up, so we can start pushing and you'll see what happens there. It will start to kind of push that underline one away. So I reckon around there is quite good. So click OK, and you can go back and do that anytime you want. So you can double click on that and go back in. I'm then going to add a layer mask to this. So come down to the bottom here where it says Add Layer Mask. Click on that, and then I'm going to invert it. So Command I. Okay, now you can do that, and then what that means is you can start painting it in. You could Command I again if you want this just to leave it there and paint out the black areas. You can do that as well. I like to do it this way because it's just a bit more fun. So the brush tool, make sure it's on white. Opacity, I'm going to have that around 40%, and the hardness at 0, and then change the brush by using the bracket keys, and then we can start painting in. So the reason why I do it this way is because I don't want to be distracted of where the flowers are. I'm looking at the portrait more than the flowers. The flowers are a secondary part. So this helps me just realize where I want things to be. Okay, it's the only reason why I do it this way. You don't have to do it this way, but it's just how I do it. So going over the areas, you can see there it's starting to reveal these flowers, which is quite nice. And I'm just slightly going over once, kind of passing, just to get the rough idea. Now, if you make a mistake, which you inevitably will, then all you need to do is change the color of the brush. All right, so come over to here where it says white and black, click on the black, so click on these arrows, and then you can just start painting that area and it will blend it in. Okay, so you want to be working a little bit up close with this around here, and I'm using black just to get a bit more of a definition of where the areas are. And then if you go to the white and then click the opacity up, you can then start adding these in a little bit more so that they're a little bit more dominant there. Okay, you see what I mean, what that's starting to do. So it starts to bring the painting through a little bit more, you can see there. So that, I'm going to go back. I don't mind that coming across the eye, but not actually into the eyeball. So go back to white and you can start adding these. And you really need to take your time and just, fill in all these areas here. And you can see how long you could actually spend doing this, really taking your time on every part. So these small areas here, I would be working at this level and I would be painting them in. Okay, so you get the idea of how much work is involved within that, and the longer you do that, the more precise you are, the better the end result. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly speed this up. So there we go, just bringing some of these back. You can see there I'm bringing the colors back now. So as I go over it more and more and more, it's just starting to pop through, which is nice. So again, click on the arrows there, and let's just get rid of that bottom section there. What you can do as well to help is just bring the opacity right down really, really low, increase the brush size and just click on the edges, and that kind of helps blend it a little bit. So like there where that flower is around her eye, we could just blend that a little bit more. Okay, so you get the idea anyway. You get the rough idea. Now what I have done is obviously I've added all the filters before, so the flowers aren't the same as her now, are they? You can see obviously they're a little bit different, and I've done that on purpose because I want them to be a little bit brighter than actually her. So what I'm going to do now though is click down the bottom and come up to Hue and Saturation, and I'm going to start bringing the saturation down. Now the problem is when I do that, it's affecting all of the image. So what I want to do is hold the Alt or Option key down, and this little arrow appears here, and I can click. Okay. Now the other way to do that is just to click this button here. Okay. And what that is a clipping mask. So now when I change the saturation, it's just the flowers. Okay. So I can now what I can do is just start dropping them until they get to the point that I like, and again it's personal preference. I think about there, that will do for now. That's quite funky. So next thing then is let's add a gradient to it. Okay, so I'm going to click down here, add a new layer, and then come down to the bottom here and then click on gradient. Now what you've got is different things. You've got linear, you've got radial, they're all different shapes, and you can increase the scale. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this so the light direction is coming from one side, which was really, it's up there. That's where the light is. Now you can click on this here, can you see? And it goes from black to white. You can actually change this to colors if you wanted to. So you could click on a color there and you can see there what's happening there. Okay. You can obviously add different colors to it, but for this I'm gonna keep it as is. The scale is, if you push it up, you can see what's happening there. It actually makes things darker because we're pushing it, so it's opposite to what you think it's going to be, but it all depends on the angle of this light. Now we could go down that route there, so let's press OK with that, because that's quite nice, because it's given us really nice light on the flower. So if we go back to the layer mask there, Command I to invert that if we wanted to, and then we could paint that in. Okay, Command I again, that's how it was there. So what we can do is click on the black brush, and we could then start painting her face back in, or you could do it the other way around. I'm going to do it this way because it's easier, but I want you to be aware there's more than one ways of doing it. So again, let's just try and bring out some of her hair. It's the eyes and the face mainly that I want to bring out. There we go, that's looking quite nice, isn't it? Okay, so let's go into her eyes, and let's boost this up to 100%. I just clicked, there we go, made the brush a little bit smaller. Lips, bring them out, and then the side of the hair. So I'm just going to click on the side of the hair because I just want that to be these lovely highlights here. We could also do a little bit under the jaw there, but you can see it's too much, so I'm pressing Command Z to go back, bring the opacity down, brush up a little bit more, and then we can just do it a little bit softer. Okay, so I'm just trying to find her hair here. You can see there's bits and bobs of her hair, so I'm just painting them randomly. And if you make a mistake, just go to the white, and then you can just add that back in just to darken it if you want to. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. So let's add another layer down here. Okay, and let's add another gradient. Now this time we could change the angle again. So we could do that. Okay. So again, we can come over to the layer mask here, press Command I, and we could invert that if we wanted to. All right, so you know, it's entirely up to you. Now I've got it on black. What that means is that you can't see it, so you need to use the brush tool with the white to then be able to paint that in. So what that's doing is just I'm just bringing that section in now, and you can see it up here. So what this is doing is just adding a little bit of three-dimensional. You can see there what that's doing. It's just darkening it down a little bit, and obviously I've gone too far with it. So let's just bring that back a little bit. There we go. So it's only a smidgen, and it's just enough just to add a little bit more contrast to the face. Okay. The other thing that you can do as well is you can actually add a gradient tool here. Look, can you see? And at the top there, it's got nothing to white, so I can also change the different styles that you've got here. So I can click a line here, look, or there. Now these are very, very subtle. But what I am going to do is come down to here and add a new layer and show you that way as well. So you can see what's happening is that you end up drawing these lines, and if you look on here, we can change this. We can change the colors. So we could add like an orange vibe to it. We could add lines to it coming across here, which is quite nice. Down this way, we could draw straight lines, and we get streaks across the face and things like that. So that looks nice. I don't know, maybe I'm just messing around now. Maybe something like that, if you wanted. You could then bring the opacity down. Yeah. You can also change the blend mode, so you can change these to lighten them, to darken them. These change the colors, so these lighten them. Again, it's entirely up to you what you'd want to do. But with that, we can increase and decrease. Now what I tend to do is sometimes just use it ever so slightly, so it's just a hint. But what I would do is I'm just deleting that, is use them so they're a little bit bigger. And also with this color, I would probably drop that down so it's not as powerful. It's not as, as strong. And then I'd probably do something like that. Okay, and then start dropping the opacity. Okay, and then also change the blend modes. So let's do that. Let's do it onto lighten, and then let's just drop this down. And you can see I'm starting to get banding, and it's because these are 8-bit images, not 16-bit. So the better quality you have, obviously the better end result. Come down, click on the layer mask, and then again we can control it. So I've got the black, and we can just control the opacity, and then just start painting the face in. And we can also run a few times over these here. Okay, just to kind of get a little bit more control. So we're just having highlights. You can see there now, all I've done is highlighted that them flowers there, but if I press Command Z, we can go back. Sometimes it's nice just to have a little bit of extra light in it. You can, the best way to use these is to actually cut the subject out and then add these in. Okay, but let's just bring the opacity right down. I'm just going to increase that brush so it's really big, and create a layer mask, and then just run it over a little bit, something like that, and then just bring her face out a little bit more. Okay, then let's have a look now. Let's add another photo filter, and we could add a warming filter, which would help with what we've just done. Or again, we can go and add the underwater one, which would give more of a moody feel. But I think this needs a warming filter, probably something like that. And depending on your image, preserve luminosity, that will help with the brightness. And we can also come in here and change this, so we can get the exact color we want. Something like that maybe. And then let's come and make a hue and saturation. I want to start bringing some of that saturation down a little bit so it's not as bright. And again, we're getting quite a lot of banding in this, and you can see the banding starting to appear there, and it's simply because if we come up to here and go to image mode, see it says 8-bit, we need it to be 16-bit. It's not actually a 16-bit image, but I've just changed it, and you can see that's kind of helped it a little bit, hasn't it? Can you see? So if your images do that, if I go back a step, you'll be able to see what I mean. You can see there that there's the banding. Okay, so going from 8-bit to 16-bit has just helped that. So that's usually a big issue that people have. So yeah, just dropping that down ever so slightly, and let's make a curves adjustment. I'll darken this a little bit. There we go. That looks quite nice. And then what I'm going to do is add another curves adjustment. This time I'm going to push that up quite far. Okay, and then invert this. So Command I, get the brush tool, change that to white, and it's on, the opacity is on 11%, and then I'm just going to dab on the face, dab on the flowers, around her hair, and what that's doing is we're just using that adjustment just in selected areas. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so that looks quite nice now, I think. So if we look at that, I'll just take a snapshot. So you can see that that was the original. These are ones that I was messing around with earlier. You can see that they're pretty much the same, slightly different. This one here, I've added these areas in here, as you can see. So if I get rid of them, you can see that that is actually quite similar to that one. It's just with that one I just added the one light into that. So sorry, the one gradient, as you can see there. So we could just do it like that, just to make it a little bit more moody. And then again, we can invert that, Command I, and then just paint in areas that we want or don't want. Okay, so the you know, the list is endless on there. You can play around to your heart's content. It's you know, there's so much you can do here. You can keep these on white, or you can add colors, you know, and add these streaks of light that come across here, and you can really, you know, direct the light where you want it to be, and you can, you know, you can add all different types of gradients and things like that. So it really depends, you know, what you want to do, what you want to achieve. But something like that is yeah, something like that is quite nice. Gives us a real kind of moody effect. And if you look at, let's say, if you look at the before and after, it gives us where's the final result? It was there. Yeah. Yeah, so it gives us a quite a nice look. So that's how you do it, just messing around, playing with different tools in Photoshop. I hope that's helped and given you some ideas for your images. Like I said, just keep playing around, keep messing with them. Use the color lookups and the photo filters, because they're really good for adding you know, adding drama and mood to your images. And like I say, lightness to decrease works really well as a setting. It really gives you some moody stuff. So yeah, I hope that's helped, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.